The small antique boutique on Peachtree Street in downtown Atlanta felt like stepping into someone else's memory. The air inside was thick with the scent of aged paper, polished wood, and the faint, expensive trace of perfume that seemed to linger on fabrics and forgotten objects rather than on living skin. Late afternoon light filtered through the tall, dusty windows in long golden shafts, catching motes of dust that drifted like tiny ghosts. Althea Beaumont pushed the heavy glass door open with her shoulder, the bell above it giving a single, tired chime. She had come straight from the hospital after a 7-hour craniotomy that had tested every ounce of her precision and patience. The aneurysm had been stubborn, coiling and recoiling under the microscope, like it had a personal grudge. But she had won. She always won. Yet victory today felt hollow. Her hands still carried the phantom tremor of retractors and microclips, and her mind buzzed with the low hum of adrenaline slowly draining away. She needed this errand to feel human again. Behind the counter stood a young woman, perhaps 22, with eyelash extensions so dramatically long they cast faint shadows across her cheeks every time she blinked. Her name tag read Madison in elegant cursive. She looked up from the tissue paper. She was folding and offered the practiced smile of someone who dealt with tired, affluent customers all day. "Hi there. Looking for anything in particular?" Althea gestured vaguely toward the display case where the porcelain tea set sat like a small royal court on velvet. Ivory-bodied cups and saucers with delicate gold rims, hand-painted roses so fine they looked like they might bruise if touched too hard. She had seen the exact set in a vintage lifestyle magazine Dante had left open on the coffee table. 6 months earlier, he had circled it absent-mindedly with a red pen and said, "This would look perfect in our dining room. Timeless." That casual comment had lodged in her memory like a splinter. Their 7th anniversary was approaching, the copper one, she thought, though she always confused it with wool or paper, and she wanted to give him something meaningful. Something that said, "I still remember the little things you mention when you think I'm not listening." "That's it," Althea said, pointing. "Is it still available?" Madison brightened. "Oh, yes. It's from the 1950s. Limoges porcelain reissued in a very limited run. Beautiful, right? Should I pull it out?" "Please." The girl carefully lifted each piece from the case and arranged them on a felt mat. Althea ran a finger along the gold rim, cool, smooth, reassuringly solid. She imagined Dante's face when he opened the box, that slow, surprised smile he used to give. Her before work and disappointments had worn the edges off both of them. "Should I wrap each piece individually?" Madison asked. "Or is layering them with paper enough for you?" Althea blinked, pulling herself back from the daydream. "Wrap each one separately, please. It's a gift for my husband, our anniversary." "Congratulations." Madison's voice lifted with genuine-sounding delight. She began tearing sheets of acid-free tissue. "Is it a big one?" 7 years. "Copper, I think. Or maybe wool. I always mix those up." "Definitely copper," the girl said confidently. "Copper means durable, strong. Porcelain might look fragile. But treat it right and it lasts centuries. Imagine how many conversations these cups have overheard. Births, deaths, love, betrayal, all of it." Althea gave a small, tired smile. "I hope they didn't break any dishes during the arguments." Madison laughed softly and kept wrapping. The shop was quiet except for the rustle of paper and the occasional tick of an old grandfather clock in the corner. Althea became aware of another presence, an elderly woman standing near the far wall, half hidden by a tall etagere of hand-painted saucers. She wore an old-fashioned cloche hat with a veil that draped across her face like mourning lace. She had been there when Althea entered, motionless, staring at the display as though the patterns on the china held some private message. Althea dismissed her as another eccentric regular. Atlanta's antique district was full of them. "That will be $450, Madison announced, sliding the finished box, black with gold embossing, across the counter. Althea opened her bag, her fingers, still slightly unsteady from the long surgery, fumbled for her wallet. She pulled out 5 crisp $100 bills. "Cash is fine. Do you have change, or should I use a card?" Madison's smile faltered. "I'm so sorry. Our terminal went down about 30 minutes ago. The whole system. Cash would actually be better. I've got plenty of small bills in the drawer right now." Althea handed over the money. Madison opened the cash drawer. Coins and notes clinked as she began counting. The sound was oddly loud in the hushed shop. Then came the creak of a floorboard. The elderly woman moved. She had seemed rooted to the spot for the entire transaction, but now she glided forward with surprising purpose. Alpha felt the shift in air before she saw the movement. The woman passed within inches of her, heading for the door, then stopped abruptly. Alpha turned. The veiled face was suddenly very close. Too close. The scent of old lavender and something sharper, grief, perhaps, washed over her. "Do not take the change from her," the woman whispered. The voice was low, commanding, impossibly clear despite its softness. Alpha flinched as though touched by ice. "What? Are you talking to me?" The woman didn't answer with words. Instead, she snapped open a small, vintage handbag, black patent, leather cracked with age, and withdrew a small stack of bills. She pressed them directly into Alpha's palm. "Here, exactly $50. Take your box and leave, right now." Alpha stared at the money, then at the woman. "I don't understand." The stranger's hand closed over hers. The skin felt dry, fever-hot, impossibly strong for someone so frail. "Do not touch the money from that register," she hissed. "It has been washed in tears." Alpha's mouth opened, but no sound came. Exhaustion crashed over her again, heavier than before. The situation was absurd, dreamlike. She looked back at Madison. The clerk stood frozen, change still in her hand, face bloodless. Her eyes were wide, fixed on the old woman, with something between fear and recognition. Alpha felt a strange impulse rise in her chest. Instinct, perhaps. The same one that told her when to clip an aneurysm neck 1 millimeter sooner. "I have the change right here," she muttered. She tucked the stranger's bills into her own wallet. "Thank you. I'll just take the box," Madison whispered. "Of course." Alpha lifted the heavy package and walked out. The humid Atlanta evening enveloped her like wet cotton. She paused on the sidewalk and called, "Wait, ma'am." But the street was full of people hurrying toward MARTA stations, umbrellas blooming against the first drops of rain. The woman in the veiled hat had vanished, completely, as though the city had swallowed her. Alpha exhaled sharply. "Well, that's just great." Officially overworked. She set the box on a nearby bench, sat down, and opened her wallet again. 2 20s and a 10, ordinary, unremarkable. Except something white was caught between them. She fished it out, a tiny folded square of notebook paper. When she unfolded it, sharp, slanted handwriting stared back at her, pressed so hard the pen had nearly torn through. "Look where the renovation is. 440455 EU96. Her pulse kicked. Renovation? They hadn't renovated anything in years. Not the apartment. Not her parents' house in the suburbs. Whose number was this? She dialed before she could talk herself out of it. Ring, 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 click. "The subscriber you are trying to reach is temporarily unavailable. Please leave a message after the tone." Alpha stared at the phone. "This has to be some kind of joke," she said aloud to no one. "A stupid prank." But the cold, sticky anxiety that had been lurking under her coat collar all day now slithered down her spine. She tucked the note into her inner pocket, gathered the box, and headed for her car. When she opened the apartment door 20 minutes later, the smell of expensive dark roast coffee greeted her. She froze. Dante wasn't due back until Wednesday. "Al, is that you?" His voice, warm, familiar, a little too bright, came from the living room. A moment later, he appeared in the hallway. White shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled, that devastating smile she had once believed she would trade her soul for. "You said the deal would take until Wednesday," she said, setting the box down carefully. He crossed the space in 3 strides, lifted her off her feet, spun her once. "I couldn't wait. I missed you. Settled everything in 24 hours. Client was thrilled, signed practically without reading. Flew back on the wings of love. And a very fast Delta flight." She studied his face. Something was off. Dante was usually steady, almost stoic. Even his biggest closings were marked with quiet scotch, not this vibrating, almost manic energy. "You look exhausted," he said, concern flooding his tone as he helped her out of her coat. "Saving the world again?" 7-hour surgery. "Tough one. I bought you a gift." His eyes lit up too quickly. "A gift for me?" And here I thought I was supposed to give the gifts. He darted into the living room and returned with an enormous bouquet of white roses. "Happy early anniversary, baby." She buried her face in the petals, hiding the unease that had begun to coil tighter. "Thank you. Aren't you going to look in the box?" "Of course." He unpacked it with theatrical enthusiasm, lifting each wrapped piece like treasure. "Alpha, this is the one. The exact one you remembered from your grandmother's house in Savannah." She nodded. "Yeah, my grandmother." For the briefest instant, his gaze clouded. Something, dark, flickering behind the charm. Then it vanished, replaced by that bright, practiced spark. "Listen, this is amazing. Let's have tea from it right now." I just want to shower and sleep. My legs are giving out. Can it wait until the actual anniversary? Whatever you say. He repacked the set too quickly, movements jerky. I'll clean this up. Go ahead. Want me to start a bath? Just a shower, no need. Under the hot water, she closed her eyes and let the spray pound against her shoulders. The veiled woman's face flashed behind her lids. Look where the renovation is. They hadn't renovated anything. Maybe it really was just a crazy old woman. Maybe. When she emerged in her robe, Dante sat at the kitchen island staring at his tablet. The moment he saw her, he flipped it screen down. Work? She asked, pouring water. Yeah, nothing important. Client panicking about property values. Calming him down. He smiled. It looked crooked. Al, you know I love you very much, right? I love you too. Everything's great with us. Better than ever. He stood, wrapped his arms around her from behind, pressed his cheek to her damp hair. We're a team. 7 years. That's a long time. A long time, she echoed. And somewhere deep inside her chest, a small, cold voice answered, too long. The next morning did not begin with the gentle hiss of the espresso machine or the soft clink of porcelain cups. It began with the wail of an ambulance siren, slicing through the resident lounge windows like a knife. Altha had barely finished her lukewarm tea, hospital cafeteria brew, bitter and thin, when the overhead speaker crackled. Dr. Beaumont to ICU 1, stat MVA, multiple traumas, suspected spinal compression, and epidural hematoma. She was already moving before the page finished, white coat flapping behind her like a cape she no longer believed in. Personal anxieties, the veiled woman, the cryptic note, Dante's crooked smile were shoved into a locked compartment at the back of her mind. Surgeon mode engaged automatically. It always did. In the trauma bay, organized chaos reigned. Nurses swarmed, monitors screamed, blood pooled on the floor in dark, sticky patches. The patient lay center stage on the gurney, male, mid-30s, face obscured by blood and a cervical collar. Clothes had been cut away. His chest rose and fell in shallow, labored bursts. What do we have? Altha snapped, gloving up as she approached. The duty physician rattled off the report without looking away from the monitors. Elijah Thorne, 34. Semi-truck veered into his lane on I-85, airbags deployed, but he took massive impact. Traumatic brain injury, contusion left frontal lobe, closed right femur fracture. But the spine is the nightmare. C5-C6 fracture dislocation, incomplete cord syndrome. No motor or sensory below T4 on initial exam. GCS 9 in the field, now 12 here. BP crashing despite fluids. Altha leaned over him. Brown eyes, unfocused but alive, stared up through swelling lids. Lips moved, barely audible. Where is she? Passenger? Altha asked the team while checking pupils with her pen light. Sluggish but reactive. No passenger reported, the physician said. Solo driver. Elijah's hand twitched, fingers curling weakly. Kayla, my daughter. School. Supposed to pick her up. Altha placed a steady palm on his shoulder. Easy, stay still. We're taking care of everything. The most important thing right now is you. We're going to the OR. No, call her. Call Margaret Sterling, Social Services. Kayla's alone. No one else. We'll call her. I promise. Altha turned to the team. Anesthesia now. Hematoma's pressing. We're losing cord function by the minute. The OR was a cold, bright cathedral of steel and light. For 10 hours, Altha worked under the operating microscope, piece by agonizing piece. Titanium plates, pedicle screws, autologous bone graft harvested from his iliac crest. Every movement had to be perfect. One wrong angle and permanent paralysis became certain. She forgot Dante, the antique shop, the note burning a hole in her coat pocket. There was only the glistening dura, the bruised spinal cord pulsing faintly beneath it, and the life hanging by microscopic threads in her hands. Pressure dropping, the anesthesiologist called 4 hours in. Maps in the 60s. More epi, more plasma. Transfuse 2 units PRBCs. Her voice rang like steel through the room. Elijah, don't you dare go! You have a daughter waiting. Hold on. And somehow, he held. When she finally stepped out of the OR, night had fallen. Her back refused to straighten. Her legs felt like lead. She peeled off her surgical cap and let sweat-damp hair fall over her shoulders. The chief of neurosurgery met her in the corridor. How is he? Alive, cord is bruised, not transected. Swelling's bad. We've induced coma to control intracranial pressure. Chance for meaningful recovery if we keep the maps up and steroids humming. But I'm being cautious. You're a magician, Altha. Go home. No, I'll stay. I want to monitor him overnight. And the daughter, he was frantic about her. Social services needs to be involved. Morning came gray and heavy. Alta went straight to the ICU. Elijah lay tangled in tubes and lines, monitors beeping in steady rhythm. A stout woman with a clipboard entered quietly. "You're here for Thorne?" Alta asked. "Margaret Sterling, DFCS." The woman sighed, adjusting thick glasses. "They told me about the poor man. He was so worried about his girl before they put him under." "Kayla, where is she?" "At New Dawn, our temporary shelter. 8 years old. Mother died 3 years ago. Ovarian cancer. No other relatives. Elijah grew up in foster care himself. So while Dad's here, she's with us. And if he ends up paralyzed?" Margaret's gaze was matter of fact. "We start the foster process. She's a good kid, smart, but she hasn't said a word since she arrived." Alta felt a sharp, unexpected pang. She and Dante had tried for children, 3 rounds of IVF, countless injections, endless hope followed by silence. Dante always said he was fine with just the 2 of them, but Alta remembered the way he watched other people's kids at Piedmont Park, quiet longing he never voiced. That evening, she returned to an empty apartment. Dante had left a note on the counter in his neat handwriting.
"Showing properties late?"
"Back after midnight. Love you, Dad." Strange, he usually called. The anxiety she had buried under scalpels and sutures resurfaced. She sat on the sofa and stared at his tablet, abandoned on the coffee table. She knew the passcode, their wedding date. "Forgive me, Dante," she whispered, "but I'm losing my mind." The browser was open to the Blackwood Realty website. Natalie Blackwood smiled from the homepage. Striking, dark-haired, confident eyes that seemed to follow Alta as she scrolled. Search history. Secluded lot, 15 acres, Oakwood Grove subdivision. How to transfer land ownership quickly without spouse consent. Divorce Asset Division, Georgia. Mortgage fraud penalties. Full-service renovation estate homes, Atlanta. The last phrase hit like a slap. "Look where the renovation is." Alta's heart slammed against her ribs. She pulled the crumpled note from her coat pocket and stared at the number. Again dialed, same voicemail. She didn't sleep. Dante returned at 3:17 a.m., smelling of perfume that wasn't hers and faint tobacco smoke. He didn't smoke. She pretended to be asleep. The next day, she called in late and drove to New Dawn Shelter instead of the hospital. The building smelled of industrial cleaner and faint sugar from the kitchen. The director met her in a cramped office. "You're a relative?" "I'm Elijah Thorne's surgeon. I operated on him yesterday." The woman's expression softened. "A doctor? That's different. Sit. How is he?" "Stable, long road ahead. He wanted to see Kayla. Does she need anything?" "She needs her daddy back alive." The director gestured toward the hallway. "Playroom." "She's by the window." "Won't talk to anyone." Kayla sat cross-legged on a faded rug, sorting wooden blocks but building nothing. Thin, huge eyes, exactly like her father's, lifted when Alta knelt beside her. "Hey there, Kayla, I'm a doctor. I'm taking care of your dad." The girl studied her solemnly. "Is he sleeping?" "Yes, he's very strong. He's going to get better. He promised me a doll, a porcelain one, like Mom had." Alta shivered. "Porcelain again. Where's your mom's doll?" "It broke when we moved." Alta stayed until the girl allowed a small, hesitant hug, then drove back to the hospital feeling something shift inside. Her, something protective. Maternal, dangerous. In the resident lounge, a nurse was on the phone. She hung up when Alta entered. "Dr. Beaumont, someone came by for Thorne. Woman in a fur coat, real expensive. Said she was a work colleague. Wanted to know if he'd ever work again. I told her only family gets info on ICU patients. She got mad, stormed out. Saw her get into a black SUV. Custom plates." Alta's stomach dropped. "Natalie Blackwood? You know her?" "I think so. Listen, no one sees Thorne. If she comes back, call security and call me. Immediately. This is life and death." The nurse's eyes widened. "What's going on?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." Around noon, the same nurse burst into the lounge, breathless. "Dr. Beaumont, Thorne's awake. He can feel his toes." Alta smiled, real, for the first time in days. "Prepare him for transfer to a private room. I'll be there soon." Elijah lay propped slightly, eyes open, staring at the ceiling tiles. When she entered, he turned his head slowly. "Where am I?" "University Hospital. There was an accident, bad one, but the worst is over." He frowned, memory flickering. "The truck." "I don't remember a truck. I remember impact, but not on the road." "Don't push. I'm your doctor, Alta Beaumont. I did your surgery." At her last name, suspicion darkened his gaze. "Beaumont. Related to Dante?" "He's my husband. But I'm here as your doctor. I saved your life for 10 hours, and I saw Kayla today. She's safe, waiting for you. The mention of his daughter melted the suspicion into desperate hope. Caleb, is she okay? She's brave. Like you. A tear tracked down his temple. Thank you. I have to tell you something, in case I don't make it. You're going to make it. I have a feeling it wasn't an accident. It was a setup. Alpha pulled a chair close. Tell me everything. Elijah's voice was still rough from the breathing tube, but the words came steady and deliberate. I'm a civil engineer, site foreman for Oakwood Grove, the luxury subdivision everyone's talking about. Blackwood Realty is the developer. Natalie Blackwood owns it. Your husband, Dante, was my direct point of contact from the client's side. He oversaw everything. Alpha's fingers tightened on the edge of the chair. She had suspected, but hearing it aloud felt like a blade sliding between ribs. Go on. A month ago, I started noticing discrepancies. Concrete pours were wrong grade, too much fly ash, not enough cement. Rebar was undersized. Insulation switched to cheap foam instead of fire-rated mineral wool. Savings were huge. Millions funneled somewhere. But the real danger was the soil. Unstable clay layer. Without proper geogrid reinforcement and slope stabilization, the whole hillside will slide after the first heavy spring rains. Houses, people, everything gone. Alpha exhaled slowly. And you told Dante? I thought he didn't know. Went to him like an idiot. Sir, we've got a problem. Showed him photos, invoices, samples. He smiled. Same smile he gives at charity galas, and said, Good job, Elijah. Very observant. Leave the folder. I'll handle it. Bonus coming. Elijah paused, throat working. Next evening, I'm leaving the site. Black SUV cuts me off. 3 guys get out. Faces covered. They beat me until I blacked out. Woke up here. They must have put me back in my car, pushed it onto the highway, right into that semi. Made it look like I fell asleep at the wheel. The folder? Gone. Phone too, everything. Silence settled between them, thick and electric. Alpha adjusted his blanket with automatic gentleness. Inside, rage simmered, cold, surgical, precise. At that moment, the door swung open. Alpha, there you are. She spun. Dante stood in the doorway, holding a paper bag from Bacchanalia. And a bouquet of white lilies, fresh shirt, perfect hair, that charming smile that used to make her heart stutter. Now it made her stomach turn. What are you doing here? She asked. No visitors on ICU. I'm not a stranger. I'm your husband bringing lunch. You haven't eaten all day. He stepped inside, beaming, until his gaze landed on the bed. The smile vanished like someone had ripped it off. Thorn, he breathed before he could stop himself. Elijah looked up. No fear, only cold, steady hatred. His fingers clenched the sheet. You two know each other? Alpha asked, voice like frost. She stepped between them. Dante recovered in a heartbeat. I think we've met. He worked on a project I supervised. Small world. He forced the smile back. Get well soon, buddy. You're lucky my wife has golden hands. Dante, Alpha said quietly. Leave. What? Leave the room. His heart rate's climbing. He can't be stressed. I'll take the food and meet you in the hall. Dante studied her, searching for how much she knew. Then another smile, tighter this time. Of course, sweetheart. I'll wait outside. The door clicked shut. Elijah exhaled. Monitors slowed. They'll finish the job if they know I'm talking, he whispered. Alpha leaned close. No one touches my patients. I promise. She left the room. Dante was pacing the hallway, lilies drooping in his fist. What was that about? He demanded. His tachycardia spiked. You stressed him. Me? I was being nice. You called him by name before I introduced him. Dante faltered for half a second. Common name. I supervised dozens of sites. She took the bag from him. Go home, Dante. I have rounds. He stared at her, long, searching, then turned and walked away without another word. The rest of the shift passed in a blur of charts and vitals. That evening at home felt like a stage play gone wrong. Dante paced the living room, cufflinks clicking as he fidgeted. You're acting strange, he said finally. Silent all evening. I'm tired. Tough patient. That Thorn guy. His eyes narrowed. You spent almost an hour in his room before I showed up. What were you talking about? His condition, his prognosis. His daughter's alone, Dante. He's worried. Ah, the daughter. A sneer twisted his mouth. Such touching concern. But you don't worry about your husband. Our anniversary's coming and you're running around after this loser. Loser? Alpha raised her eyes slowly. Why did you call him that? You said you barely knew him. Dante faltered, then attacked. Because normal men don't get hit by trucks and leave their kids orphans. I'm tired of this, Alpha. You live at that hospital. I'm nothing to you. I work like a dog so we can have a life, a home. You're not working like a dog, she cut in. You've been lying. To me, to everyone. His face went still. What did you say? I said I'm very tired and I want to sleep. You should take the guest room. She stood and walked out. For the first time in 7 years, she locked the bedroom door behind her. The next day, she met Octavia at a small coffee shop far from downtown. Octavia, once the girl Altha had pulled out of despair in 7th. Grade listened without interrupting. When Altha finished, she leaned back. I've heard whispers about Blackwood Realty, shady permits, kickbacks. But attempted murder? That's felony territory. We need proof. Elijah's word against Dante's reputation won't hold. They'll call him concussed. You underestimate me, Octavia said with a sharp smile. I'll dig until I find the color of their accountant's socks. You saved me once, Al. I'm in. That evening, Octavia called, voice buzzing. Sit down. Natalie Blackwood and Dante. Go back 15 years. Same business program at Georgia State. They had a shell company 10 years ago. Laundered money from public contracts. They never really broke up. You were the perfect cover. Respected surgeon wife, spotless image. Natalie's the real partner. In business and, I'm sorry, probably everything else. Most of his client deals end up in her network. Altha felt the world tilt, then steady into cold clarity. What do we do? Hide Elijah. If they know he's talking, one wrong drip and he's gone. They moved fast. Altha visited an old friend, retired notary Mrs. Sterling, no relation to Margaret. Papers were drawn up, temporary guardianship for Kayla, citing Altha as a longtime family friend. The chief of surgery signed without questions. That night, a private ambulance took Elijah to the Pines, rehab center, private security, different county, paid in advance. Where are we going? He asked weakly. Somewhere safe. They won't find you. Why are you doing this? I'm a stranger. And Dante, he stopped being my husband the moment he decided a life was worth less than money. Dante noticed Elijah was gone the next afternoon. He stormed into the apartment. Where is he? He roared. Altha sat on the sofa. Kayla curled beside her, drawing quietly. Quiet down. You'll scare her. What child is this? Dante stared at Kayla. Thorne's kid? Have you lost your mind? She's here legally. I have temporary guardianship. His face purpled. He stepped forward. Where's your father, little girl? Where did your new mommy hide him? Kayla hid her face. Don't you dare, Altha said, rising. She was shorter, but she seemed taller. Don't speak to her like that. You're playing with fire, Altha. Natalie will crush you. Where is Thorne? Get your hands off me. Her voice was steel. I know about Oakwood Grove, forged inspections, substandard materials, what you did to Elijah's car, and I know about your mistress. Dante backed away. You're lying. Test me. If anything happens to Elijah or Kayla, copies of everything go to the DA. Bluff. She had no copies. But fear flickered in his eyes. He stormed out, door slamming. Kayla whispered, Is he going to hurt us? No, honey. He's a coward. We're strong. Octavia found a witness, Vance Gentry, former Mason. Angry about unpaid wages. Scared but willing. They met in an abandoned industrial lot. I don't want trouble, Vance muttered. They'll have trouble when we're done, Octavia said, recorder on. Vance talked. Elijah and Dante fought in the trailer. Then Natalie's SUV pulled up. I saw them under Elijah's hood. Dante handed her a blue folder. She gave him an envelope, thick. Altha whispered, the evidence. They needed the originals. Altha called Elijah. Where are the originals? A pause. House number 7. Unfinished. Basement furnace room. Far wall, 3rd block from floor, 2nd from left. No mortar. Spray foam inside. Looks solid. Flash drive and ledger. That night they went? Oakwood Grove lay silent under fog. Octavia parked in the trees. Ready for breaking and entering, partner? I'm a surgeon. Cutting things open is my job. House 7 was a hollow shell. Basement dark and damp. They counted blocks. Crowbar, hollow sound. Block gave way. Altha reached in. Plastic bag, ledger, flash drive. Dante, she breathed. You're finished. Footsteps above. Flashlight beam. Hey, who's down there? Security, Octavia hissed. Run! They scrambled out a window, sprinting into woods, bag clutched tight. Morning brought police to the apartment. Dante Beaumont? You're under arrest. Racketeering, grand larceny, conspiracy to commit murder. Dante paled. Altha, call the lawyer. She stepped out, calm. You'll need a very good one. But even the best won't beat this evidence. Natalie was arrested at her office trying to burn files. The divorce was brutal. Dante fought from jail for assets. In deposition, he looked empty. Did you ever love me? Or was I just convenient? You didn't ask questions. You believed the best in people. Perfect wife for a man with secrets. Thank you for the honesty. Goodbye. Elijah walked out of rehab 6 weeks later. Cane, but on his own feet. Altha waited at the gate. Kayla jumped into his arms. "Hey, Grasshopper." He looked at Altha. "Hey, Doc. Hey, patient. Ready for a new life?" "I'm scared. No job, no home." "You have a home." "My apartment's big enough. We'll find work." They started as roommates, then friends, then something more. Elijah redesigned the hospital entrance for accessibility. Commissions followed. A year later, their new riverfront house smelled of pine and laughter. No stairs, no thresholds. Octavia celebrated her journalism award there. Mrs. Sterling came. Margaret, too. Kayla, 9 now, showed off her room. Altha arranged books by the fireplace. Elijah wrapped arms around her waist. "Happy?" "So happy." He handed her a cup, the porcelain one, cracks mended with gold. "Kintsugi," he said. "Japanese. They believe cracks make it more valuable. It has history." She traced a seam. "This is us." "Yes, stronger for it." He set the cup on the mantel beside their photo. 3 of them. Paint splattered, laughing during the move. Outside, pines rustled. The river flowed on, washing the past away. The lights burned bright.